40 years ago, I was hired by Universal Pictures to write a flying saucer movie. I contacted the government and asked for information and was stonewalled.
Yellow warning. 7:54. First interceptor flight airborne. Point of interception. 80 miles due west of San Francisco, California. 7:55. Unidentified object past point of interception. Red warning. 8:11. Morro Bay, California. Height 50,000 feet. Estimated speed 2,000 miles per hour. 8:15. Santa Monica, California. Height 10,000 feet. Speed 1,200 miles per hour. 8:18. All traces of unidentified objects gone. Red warning lifted. By 8:25 at the Los Angeles branch of the Communications Commission, reports of strong interference with radio and television reception began to pour in from the beach area. The monitors went to work immediately. Mobile units were ordered to converge on the vicinity of the disturbance. Pinpoint direction finding devices began to trace the trouble to its source.
Admiral Calvin Bolster of the Navy's Bureau of Aeronautics gives his conclusion.
These balloons might explain isolated cases of circular-shaped, unidentified objects flying at altitudes, extreme altitudes that have been reported. However, I do not feel that these balloons explain the majority of the so-called flying saucer sightings that have appeared in the press.
As part of my research, I traveled with fellow researcher Dr. David Phillips to Area 51, which is a highly secure government facility that long has been rumored to hold everything from captured flying saucers to the bodies of aliens who had been discovered and found at the Roswell site. We arrived at the site, which is heavily fenced and signed not to trespass. We were approached at a distance by a vehicle, an army vehicle, that kept their eyes on us the whole time we were there. During the night, interestingly, we saw lights in the sky that were behaving in ways that present aircraft, I'm trying to be very specific, that present aircraft are unable to maneuver the way we saw it. They would go straight up, they would go to the right, they would go to the left, they would go straight down, because the speed of the light is extraordinary. We spent a day there and a day and a night. We slept there. We were watched the whole time by vehicles at a distance. When we realized that we were in jeopardy because of the signs said that force would be used, we decided to leave. So Dave and I were driving back from the desert, and we were really disappointed. We didn't really have anything. We drove up there, and it had to be 2 a.m, and we were tired. And then we both became quiet. And we heard, we talked about it later, a sound that we can't really describe in words. It's just a sound. But we both heard it. We both stopped, and we saw come over the hill in Topanga in the distance a disc, lights, a flying saucer, an unidentified flying. We saw it. It came around again. We saw it again. We talked about it. We said, "Do you see what I see?" We described it. And it went away. We weren't delusionary. We weren't doing drugs. We weren't drinking. We were tired, but we both experienced exactly the same thing. Was it connected to our visit to the desert, to Area 51? It still stops me. It still makes me think. Makes me feel out of sync. Makes me feel manipulated. I filed a Freedom of Information lawsuit, which has wended its way through the courts, and finally, some 35 years later, the U.S. government released some information to me. Most of it was dated, but some of it was fascinating. Since the late 1940s, the Department of Defense had been running a massive disinformation campaign, starting with the incident in Roswell and moving on to Area 51, that thousands were employed in the continuing narrative of incidents at Roswell and then the conspiracy legends of Area 51 were designed to cover the actual reality of what the U.S. government knows and has in their possession. When they invented Roswell as a cover story to the real information, they developed a scenario with Hollywood writers and Hollywood directors creating mock documentaries, misinformation, first and very carefully orchestrated with cooperators in the media. And so while they were narrating the story of UFOs in America, in secret, somewhere, they were dealing with the, quote, UFO, close quote, issue with real life physicality. For me, the existence of this massive disinformation campaign to cover up the reality and keep it from the American people is frightening.